Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, Text number 32. Kachid Buddha swastya nyamiva aste Shvapalka putro bhagavat prapannaha Yah Krishna padankita margapam sushva Acheshtata prema vibhinna dhairyaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Please tell me whether Akrura, the son of Shvapalka, is doing well. He is a faultless soul, surrendered unto the personality of Godhead. He once lost his mental equilibrium due to his ecstasy of transcendental love and fell down on the dust of a road which was marked with the footprints of Lord Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When Akrura came to Vrindavan in search of Krishna, he saw the footprints of the Lord on the dust of Nandagram and at once fell on them in ecstasy of transcendental love. This ecstasy is possible for a devotee who is fully absorbed in incessant thoughts of Krishna. Such a pure devotee of the Lord is naturally faultless because he is always associated with the supremely pure personality of Godhead. Constant thought of the Lord is the antiseptic method for keeping oneself free from the infectious contamination of the material qualities. The pure devotee of the Lord is always in company with the Lord by thinking of Him. Yet, in particular context of time and place, the transcendental emotions take a different turn, and this breaks the mental equilibrium of the devotee. Lord Chaitanya displayed the typical example of transcendental ecstasy, as we can understand from the life of this incarnation of God. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So here, in this chapter, we are seeing the meeting of Vidura, with Uddhava. And Vidura is asking Uddhava about the well-beings of his family members, Krishna's family members. How is Krishna? How is everybody? He's asking. So in this particular verse, Vidura is asking Uddhava to tell him about how is Akrura, who was a very close friend, family member of Krishna, of the Yadu dynasty. So please tell me whether Akrura, the son of Shvapalka, is doing well. He is a faultless soul, surrendered unto the personality of Godhead. He once lost his mental equilibrium due to his ecstasy of transcendental love and fell down on the dust of a road which was marked with the footprints of Lord Krishna. So Vidura is recollecting about the emotions that Akrura went through when he went to Vrindavan to meet Lord Krishna. We know how Akrura went to Vrindavan. He was actually sent by Kamsa to get Krishna from Vrindavan, bring him to Mathura, so that he can plan, Kamsa can plan to kill Krishna in Mathura. So for this task, Kamsa had deputed Akrura to go to Vrindavan and get Krishna. So Vidura is recollecting that when Akrura went to Vrindavan, he was in so much of transcendental emotion at the thought that, oh, he's going to meet the Lord. And that is what is being mentioned in this verse. When Akrura was about to go to Vrindavan, he was constantly praying to Krishna that, "Oh my Lord, I have got such a wonderful opportunity now to see you, to meet you." He was thinking that it is not so easy to meet the Lord. Even a devotee or a person who has heaps and heaps of pious activity, even for him it is very difficult to meet the Lord. So he said, what pious activity what pious credits do I have that I have gotten the opportunity to go and personally meet the Lord? So like this, he was considering himself very unfit to meet the Lord. He said, I have nothing, I have not done anything. So how can I meet the Lord? I am so unfit. Just like he was thinking, just like a materialist. A materialist in one sense is very unfit to understand the science of Krishna. Or if you tell a Shudra something about devotional service or something very elevated, he is not fit, he is unfit to understand all these things. So in the same way, this was the emotion this was the feeling, this was the humility that Akrura had within himself. Although he was so elevated, he was a pure devotee of the Lord, he was thinking himself to be unfit to go and meet the Lord. But then he also thought that although I am unfit, Lord's grace is unlimited. And if the Lord wants, maybe I will meet him. That was his thinking. So, he thought that I am really so fortunate that today I will go and meet the Lord. And these thoughts kept him fully absorbed in thinking about the Lord. He was thinking that, I am going to see the Lord's beautiful face. I am going to see his lotus feet. I am going to touch. He was thinking how I can touch the Lord. And he thought, if I somehow go and if I am able to make it to Vrindavan and see the Lord and just touch him, all my sinful reactions that is in me will disappear immediately. And the goal of my human life will become successful. This is what he was thinking. So he thought that Kamsa has actually favored him. Although it was on a sinful mission, because he was going to Vrindavan to invite the Lord to come to Mathura, but actually for Kamsa to kill Krishna. But he thought that, I have been favored by Kamsa at least to go and meet the Lord, to see him, to touch him. This is what he was thinking. He was very eager to touch the lotus feet of the Lord. Actually, we are touching the Lord every day, right? Prabhupada has given us a very nice method, and it is mentioned in Kali Yuga, it is mentioned in the scriptures that in Kali Yuga, Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. Here we are seeing Akrura is going to Vrindavan to meet the Lord. But the Lord in Kali Yuga, Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. In the form of the holy name, Krishna has come. So we actually have an opportunity to touch the Lord in the form of his holy name. So these were the thoughts that was going on in Akrura's mind. But while all these transcendental emotions were going on in Akrura's mind, that he will meet the Lord, he will touch him, he is so fortunate, although he is unfit, he'll get this opportunity. He was also thinking that actually, as I was mentioning, that he is going on a sinful mission. And the Lord is the super soul. He is seated in everyone's heart. So he will immediately come to know that I have come to invite him to come to Mathura, but actually it is with an intention that Kamsa will actually fight and kill him. So it is not right on my behalf to go with such a sinful, to go with this sinful mission. But then, heart in heart, Akrura had, although this was the mission with which he was sent, heart in heart, Akrura had strong feelings of love and affection for the Lord. He was deeply attached favorably to the Lord. So, he thought that Lord is the super soul, although he will know that my purpose is this, but at heart, I have no such intentions. I just want to meet the Lord, receive His blessings, and touch His lotus feet. So he will know that actually my heart is clean. So he said to himself, so I will just simply fall down at the lotus feet of Lord and humbly beg from Him to bless me. If I pray to the Lord with folded hands and with humility, then I am sure the Lord will understand and He will not consider any offense on my part to have come and invited Him for this mission. So this is so nice that no matter what state we are in or what we are, Akrura mentions that if we just pray with folded hands to the Lord, with full humility, that, oh my Lord, I surrender unto you, please help me, the Lord will understand the heart of a devotee and He will help us in our advancement of devotional service. So, with these thoughts, he went to Vrindavan and he reached Vrindavan by the end of the day. It was a whole day's journey. And Akrura was so deeply absorbed in the thoughts of the Lord that he didn't even realize how time passed the whole day. He was just thinking like this and traveling, and he just reached Vrindavan. So, when we actually are very deeply absorbed in something, we have practical experience. We don't know how time suddenly goes by, right? Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he prays in his Shikshashtaka that he's praying Yugayitam Nimshena Chakshusha Pravrashayitam Shunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahename. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just like Akrura, is absorbed in the thoughts of the Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. And in that state of absorption, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that Yugayitam Nimshena, this whole, of course this is in a slightly different way. Here in this absorption, even a moment is appearing to be a very long time. So this is what it is mentioned here, that in particular context of time and place, the transcendental emotions take a different turn. You see? So here we are seeing Akrura, his whole day, he just passed off and he thought that it's just a moment. He didn't realize how the whole thing passed by. And as it is mentioned, transcendental emotions take a different turn. And here we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also absorbed in the thoughts, and for him, a moment is appearing to be like 12 years. So you see the transcendental emotions taking different turns from a long time to a short time, and a short time to a long time. So these are the wonderful things. So here it is mentioned the absorption that Akrura is going through, and what happens when Akrura enters Vrindavan. Upon seeing the footprints of Krishna, Akrura immediately jumped down from the chariot out of respect, and he became overwhelmed with the symptoms of ecstasy. That is what Vidura is describing about Akrura here. He wept and his body trembled. Out of extreme jubilation upon seeing the dust touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, Akrura fell flat on his face and began to roll on the ground soon as he entered Vrindavan. So Prabhupada writes, Akrura's journey to Vrindavan is exemplary. One who intends to visit Vrindavan should follow the ideal footsteps of Akrura and always think of the pastimes and activities of the Lord. As soon as one reaches the boundary of Vrindavan, he should immediately smear the dust of Vrindavan over his body without thinking of his material position and prestige. So we devotees also, when we go to Vrindavan, the moment we get down and in Vrindavan from a rickshaw or from a bus or anything, we all bow down our heads and we touch the dust of Vrindavan to our forehead. So that is how. So that is visiting Vrindavan with these thoughts. Here Narottam Das Thakur writes in another place, Vishaya chhadiya kabe shuddha hobe mana, kabe ami herabo Shri Vrindavan. Narottam Das Thakur is again giving a very nice explanation in one of his songs. With what mood, with what mind we should go, we can see Vrindavan. Prabhupada writes, we cannot simply purchase a ticket to go to Vrindavan. Yes, you can take a ticket and be in Vrindavan, but actually if you want to relish, Vrindavan, understand what Vrindavan is, understand the transcendental, the divine nature of that land, Vrindavan, what emotions it can arise within ourselves. Then what is the prerequisite? It is Vishaya Chadiya Kabe Shuddha Habe Mana. Vishaya means these material attachments. When I will be able to give up these material attachments and make my mind Shuddha, purify my mind, Shuddha Habe Mana, Kabe Ami Herabo Shrivan, that time I'll be able to actually understand what is Vrindavan and understand His glory. So this is the state that Akrura had achieved. His mind was completely free from all contamination and his mind was pure, and that is why when he went to Vrindavan and he saw the dust of Vrindavan, saw the imprints of Krishna's lotus feet, he just fell flat and tears started coming out from his eyes. And that is how he visited Vrindavan. Further, Prabhupada is writing that what happened when he was in Vrindavan. So Akrura immediately got down from the chariot and he met Krishna and Balarama, and then his desire was to touch the lotus feet of Krishna. So he went, he met Krishna, and upon touching the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he became overwhelmed with transcendental bliss. His voice choked up, and he could not speak. Due to his transcendental pleasure, incessant torrents of tears fell from his eyes. He remained stunned in ecstasy. Just like the emotions that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going through, it is described that Akrura also experienced something similar. He remained stunned in ecstasy, as if devoid of all powers to see and speak. And then Lord Krishna, who is very kind to his devotees, raised Akrura with his hands and embraced him. So we see how this Akrura's desire of meeting Krishna in Vrindavan was fulfilled, and we see these transcendental emotions that Akrura went through when he met Sri Krishna. So here in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that constant thought of the Lord is the antiseptic method for keeping oneself free from the infectious contamination of the material qualities. So constant thought of the Lord is the antiseptic method. Prabhupada writes in another place, just like antiseptic method means, you won't get affected by the material qualities, right? And that is the thought of the Lord. So it is just like, suppose there's an epidemic, in some place, and somebody has to go and cure those people from the disease that they are suffering. Now, anybody who goes will get infected also, right? Because there is an epidemic there. There is a lot of infectious disease. So the doctor who will go, he will find out what that disease is, and he will take a vaccination. And with that vaccination, he can go in the midst of the diseased state, that epidemic, and he can cure them and come back without being affected, because he has vaccinated himself from that disease. So that vaccination is constant thought of the Lord is the antiseptic method. So constantly thinking about the Lord or chanting about the holy name of the Lord, these are the methods. Krishna writes in Bhagavad Gita that mat chitta sarva durgani mat prasadat tarishyasi. If he's telling Arjuna that mat chitta, if you're thinking about me, mat chitta sarva durgani, all your troubles, all the difficulties that you may have, mat prasadat tarishyasi, by my mercy you will be able to overcome. Sarva durgani, all your problems. How? Simply by mat chitta, simply by thinking about me. On the other hand, if you are not thinking about me, na shroshyasi, if you are not hearing me, vinangshasi. Atha chetvam ahankara, na shroshyasi, vinangshasi. You will perish if you act out of your ego. So, this is what, simply by thinking of the Lord, we are actually in a state of complete protection. Just the thoughts of the Lord give us so much of protection from this material contamination, from this material disease, that we don't need anything else. So this is the dependence that we have to develop. How to think of the Lord, how to chant His holy name, and this way I can remain protected from the material influence. Here it is mentioned that Lord Chaitanya displayed the typical example of transcendental ecstasy as we can understand from the life of this incarnation. So, Lord Chaitanya, we know about the transcendental states of emotion, of transcendental ecstasy that he went through. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also it is mentioned. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came as a devotee incarnation to tell us that we can also experience this state. It is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Apani aswadi Prabhu dekhaila sima. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was going through these transcendental states, when he was in Jagannath Puri, he thought that the ocean is Yamuna and he would jump into it. That Chataka Parvat, he thought it's Govardhan and he would embrace it. And things like that. And while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was experiencing all this bliss, and Apani Aswadi Prabhu, he was tasting these various mellows of devotional service and Dekhaila Sima. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us the limit of what a devotee can attain in this life. The extreme limit. Prabhupada says that this Krishna consciousness movement can actually raise any devotee who is serious about his Krishna consciousness, who is serious about his devotional practices, to that state, the highest state. And all this can happen simply by thinking about the Lord, by chanting His holy name. There was one devotee by name Narsimhananda Brahmachari. So he would also be absorbed in always thinking about the Lord, and mentally he was very experienced in serving the Lord with his mind. Mentally he would serve the Lord. It is said that you can serve the Lord even in your mind, just like that example we have of the Brahmana who offered the sweet rice, who was preparing the sweet rice in his mind. So this devotee, Narsimhananda Brahmachari, he heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was in Kulia. Kulia Gram is a place in West Bengal. He heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will travel to Vrindavan after Kulia. So, he in his mind he wanted to welcome the Lord, and he's traveling from Kulia to Vrindavan, which is a very long distance, and the roads are not so good. It's all through forest, thorns and things like that. So he wanted to serve the Lord in his mind, and he started meditating on preparing a very nice road for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to travel to Vrindavan. So he sat down, and in his meditation he started contemplating. He first contemplated that the road will be very broad, very wide road. The broader road, it's a better way of welcoming someone. So he started building a very broad road, and then the road inlaid with jewels. And then on both sides of the road, he started meditating. There are very nice bakula flower trees. And like this he was meditating. He was building a very nice road, a very expensive road. And because, we must offer our best to Krishna, and filled with jewels, inlaid with jewels and flower trees. And then after some time, he meditated that there are very nice lakes at every small intervals. And in the lakes, there were nice ducks, and there were nice flowers, and there was a bathing place, and there were cool breezes. and things like that. He started meditating. And then he's thinking that the Lord will come and he will travel, and like that he was building the road. And there was one place he was building like this. Slowly he was building. So he started his building work from Kulia. And then the road arrived. He built the road in his mind till Kanai Natshala. That's another place in close to somewhere near Bengal, Odisha, somewhere there. And then after that, when he further tried to build the road, he's unable to build the road. So he's thinking, why is he unable to build the road? Again and again he kept on trying to build the road, but he's unable. Beyond Kanai Natshala, he's unable to build the road. He's thinking like, so then he finally decided that, okay, I'm unable to build the road. That means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will not travel beyond Kanai Natshala. He will not go to Vrindavan. Just look at this, he was a pure devotee of the Lord. He's thinking, so because he couldn't build the road, he declared to everybody there that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually had declared that he'll go to Vrindavan. So everybody knew that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to Vrindavan, and all people were planning to travel along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Kulia to Vrindavan, about 2000 kilometers or so. So he told everybody Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not going beyond Kanai Natshala. So everybody was wondering, what are you saying? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, no, it will happen, it will come true, you just wait and watch. So then finally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came from Kulia, and then he came to Kanai Natshala. And there Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Sanatan Goswami, and Sanatan Goswami advised Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, it's a big crowd is there, and it's not good for you to go with such a huge crowd to Vrindavan. It will not be very pleasant. It will be all very crowded. If you want to go to Vrindavan, just go with few devotees, and, that will be better. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also thought, it's not good to go with such a big crowd. He just wanted to, make it very simple and just go with few devotees. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided not to go to Vrindavan, and from Kanai Natshala, he changed his course and went to Nilachala. And later on, of course, he went to Vrindavan. So see, this devotee, he was meditating, he was thinking of the Lord, and he had achieved a state where it is said that sadhus are trikalagnaha. They know the past, they know the present, and they know the future. Now this devotee actually prophesies the future of the Supreme Lord Himself, not just about others. Even before the Lord came to Kanai Natshala, He said that the Lord will not go beyond Kanai Natshala. At the point when He mentioned that the Lord will not go beyond Kanai Natshala, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't know that. Because only after coming to Kanai Natshala, he actually decided that he won't go future. So this is the state that we can achieve. Just by thinking of the Lord, just by meditating on Him. And we are very fortunate that we have, and all this can be achieved provided we are connected with a pure devotee who directs us, who guides us, and we serve him, and we do our devotional service. Just like he was serving him, this Narasimhananda Das Brahmachari was serving him. So similarly, we have to be guided by a spiritual master, follow his instructions, and then we will be able to achieve such a state. There was once, I will just end with this last one pastime of Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he would frequently, he was in one of his temples and he was sitting with a lot of devotees. And Prabhupada at many times would, engage in a discussion with his devotee. And he would throw questions at them. He would put them in a spot and Prabhupada would ask questions and see how his devotees would respond, how his devotees would reply. And then Prabhupada would take, a different role, the role of, as if he would argue. So once Prabhupada asked his few devotees, can anyone tell me why the Mayavadis, although they try to read Vedanta so much, they are unable to understand actually what is Vedanta. The Mayavadis really, they give their own interpretation of Vedanta, but they actually cannot understand Vedanta. So can anyone say why Mayavadis don't understand Vedanta? So different devotees started giving different answers, different explanations. And somebody said, In the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Naham prakashah sarvasya yogo maya samavritah. I am not revealed to anyone and everyone. I am covered with my yoga maya, Naham prakasha. So like this, Mayavadis also, because they, Krishna doesn't reveal himself to them. And then Prabhupada was not, he was looking, he was not very happy with that answer. And then he asked few other devotees to try, and different devotees started giving different answers. And then Prabhupada was just waiting. And then one devotee, he came up with the answer. So that devotee says, Prabhupada, Mayavadis cannot understand Vedanta because they do not have with them Bhakti Vedanta. So Prabhupada was very pleased. But again, there are two different things. This devotee, what he said, because they do not have Bhakti Vedanta, it's a fact. He was referring Bhakti Vedanta to Prabhupada. If you don't have a pure devotee as your guru, you cannot understand. It's not so easy. It's impossible. So that is what this devotee's intention was when he mentioned, because they do not have Bhakti Vedanta, meaning it's Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, yes, that's true, but Prabhupada meant it from a different perspective. He said, yes, they do not have Bhakti Vedanta because Vedanta is not the only thing required. You need to understand God. You need Bhakti also. You need devotion also. So this understanding God is a combination of Bhakti and knowledge. Bhakti Vedanta. And that's what Srila Prabhupada was, and that's what he gave it to us. He gave us the science of devotional service. He gave us this knowledge, this Vedanta. And together, if we understand this, following the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, we'll be able to understand Krishna very easily. And then we can also achieve a state where all these, we can experience this loving state of Krishna consciousness. We'll end here. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaur Premanand.